What's up?
Just to make this, I'm gonna make it long as the garage.
I don't know. That's only 6 feet. Might not make it all the way up there. She's trying to touch the garage with the tape measure. Today I'm going to show you how to make a simple DIY kids activity table, and I'm going to tell you why I'm doing this project. I'm on kind of a mission now. I'm realizing that my kids, the more they engage with their environment, the less they care to engage with things like TV, technology, stuff like that, and they engage a lot of their creativeness. You know, I'm starting to get into this idea of self-directed learning, them playing on their own, engaging in the creativity that they come up with on their own. And so I'm trying to start building a environment that lines up with that. And so this is part of it. This actually started because a couple weeks ago I built a mud kitchen, and my son, he would take chairs from our kitchen table and take them up to the oven or the sink, and always wanting to be playing in it. And at first we were just like, hey, stop. And then we started saying, well, what if we had a place where he could go and play and felt like he was doing the same thing? So we built the mud kitchen, and you can let him on our back patio in the mud kitchen, and he'll just go play for as long, like just a really long time. And so I'm motivated to start figuring out ways to help my kids have environments that they're more engaged in. And so this is what we've built today. So I'm gonna show you everything. I'm gonna show you the materials that you're gonna need, the tools that you're gonna need. I'm gonna walk you through step by step. And then I'll make a little PDF version of the materials list so you know exactly what to go buy. Don't need a lot of tools. It's fairly simple to do. And that's the goal. The goal is for it to be something that's relatively inexpensive, something that's relatively simple. So I'm gonna walk you through that and then show you from start, everything taken apart, nothing cut, to this. All right, the material you'll need for this project, this is a 36-inch by 16-inch pre-made cabinet board. So you can get these already planed, already put together. It's only 10 bucks, pretty easy to do. A 1x4x4, so this is 4 feet long, 4 inches wide, and then 5 2x4s, original length, 96 inches. Don't get the 93 and whatever short ones. So that's all you'll need in terms of wood, and then we'll go over the fasteners and the tools. All right, for fasteners, 2.5-inch wood screws, self-tapping, means it's gonna have a little drill bit on the end of it. I like these screws from Power Pro, self-tapping hex bit, so you can run it with a impact driver. I just get a big thing every time I get these, because whenever you're working with 2x4s, they're 1.5 inches thick, so that's long enough to attach those. Then you're also going to want 1.5 inch finish nails. So this will be for doing the top, because the top piece is only 3/4 inches, and then that's going to be going into a 2x4. Some of them are going to be 1.5 inches. So a 2.5 inch screw would come out of that. So 1.5 inch finish screws. As far as other tools you'll need, speed square is always good to draw straight lines. Tape measure, my daughter's right here. She wanted me to make sure you knew. She has a little tape measure too, so we have 2 of those, and then a pencil. Now for tools, I have a sander. You can do this, you can sand this by hand. It's not a lot of sanding you're gonna do, but you are gonna need some sort of circular saw. I actually just got this. This is my first ever cordless saw. I've always had a corded saw, and then an impact driver. The impact driver is gonna allow you to drive the screws in, the self-tapping screws. And then I have a set here. This is for impact driver, but it does have drill bits in it. And so we are gonna be pre-drilling a few holes. So if you don't have drill bits for an impact driver, you would want to drill. So small drill bit, we're gonna pilot some holes so we don't split the ends of the boards. So we're gonna get started.
What did you say?
All right, we're gonna put the band together and then put the tabletop on it. So for this, you have 2 36-inch pieces, 2 13-inch pieces. What we're gonna do is we're gonna measure 3/4 of an inch in on each side so that we can have a line to pilot 2 holes. Because when you drill a screw through here, if you use a self-tapping screw, it does drill a hole, but sometimes it'll split the end. So we just take this little speed square, measure 3/4 of an inch in, and then we're just gonna draw a line here. We're gonna do the same thing on this side, 3/4 inch. Draw a line. Okay, same thing on this one. 3/4 inch line. 3/4 inch line. All right. All right, so we got these lines, so we just drill 2 holes. All right, now I'm just gonna start the screws and then I'll put the band together. All right, so we're just gonna attach this board flush with the end. All right, so this is just gonna sit on top of it. Remember, this is 36 inches by 16. So what we did was 36 inches long, and then these are 13. And so these are 2.5 inches a piece. So this will just sit on the top and we'll get it fairly flush. I mean, when you work with 2x4s, they're not always gonna be the most straight board. But we just wanna make sure that the back is fairly flush so that the back posts can come up behind it, which is where we'll build a shelf. So now this is where we'll use these 1.5" finish screws and we'll just go around the perimeter with them. Ellie thinks it's cool. All right, we've got the top attached. Another little pro tip is just when you're working with multiple types of screws, put the bit tip in the box so you don't lose it when you're going back and forth. So we've got the top. Now what we're gonna do is we're gonna set the legs. The way the legs will work on this is 2 of them will attach to the back and they're gonna rise up above this because we're gonna build a little like backsplash and shelf. The other 2 are gonna go on the inside here. And so that way they are not super encased and inside so much that we can't use like some sort of bench. What's up? I don't know, that's only 6 feet. Might not make it all the way up there. She's trying to touch the garage with the tape measure. But yeah, so the inside legs here, we're gonna flip them this way rather than this way. So that way the bench doesn't have to be super narrow. We can have a little more width for the bench. All right, so this is the front, this is the back. What we've got are 2 22-inch front legs. So these are gonna go on the inside here and here, okay? So we'll attach those first and then I'll show you how we're gonna do the back. All right, so for the back, what we want is when these are attached, is we want them to rise 3.5 inches above so that we can put on the backsplash and the little shelf. So what that means is, what we're gonna do is we'll take the board and we'll mark 3.5 inches down. So 3.5 inches down. So then what we'll do is we'll take this and we're gonna put these all the way flush with the end and then line that line up. And then that's where it's gonna go. And then we're just gonna drill in from the back here. And then that gives us the piece that we need so that we can have the backsplash. Good tip, once you run one screw, you can still rotate a piece of wood. So once it's set, make sure everything's flush where you want it, then run the second screw. So now what we're gonna do is we're gonna cut that 1x4 and it's gonna go here to here on the front, and then we'll take a 2x4 and it's gonna be here flat overhanging, so there's a little shelf. And you know, there's different things you can do with this. The goal of this project is to give you like the base of it, and then you can customize it. So like we're talking about maybe putting like one of those paper roll things on here, or I was thinking about the shelf on top, maybe taking some small like aluminum little pots and nailing them on so that she can have, you know, places like to put pens and markers. I have one almost 2-year-old son. I don't know how well that's gonna work, but just some ideas of how you could further customize this. Again, we're just starting with the base of like, hey, here's a place to play, and then we can customize it from there. So next, what we're gonna do is we're gonna do a 36-inch piece of 2x4 here, and it'll be flush with the back, so like even with these, but it's gonna overhang just a little bit. All right, 2.5-inch screw, this side of the board down into the back post piece here. All right, that's the table. The legs, well, like right here, they're even, but when they're on a flat surface, they're a little uneven. So we'll put some like felt pads underneath it to make it a little bit balanced out, but this is it. So next we're gonna build the bench so that the bench can fit right under there. All right, I went ahead and cut down our last pieces for the bench. 6 pieces that are 9 inches long, 2 that are 12, and then 3 that are 28, all 2x4s. So basically what we're gonna do is we're gonna construct the base of the legs like this. Okay, so that's one, then the other, and then what we'll do is we'll deck the top. The top is 12 inches wide, 3 boards side by side, it's 10.5 inches. So the way that'll work is, you know, one will be flush on one end, one will be flush on the other, and the other will just kind of center, and there'll be a little bit of gap in between each board. So we're gonna put those together, all with 2.5-inch screws. Same thing as earlier, we're gonna drill holes 3/4 inches in, just to make sure that we don't split the end of these. So 3/4 inches, 3/4 inches. Yep, go for it. 3/4 inches, 3/4 inches. Okay.
Sounds like they still have little socks. Let me get my We won't want these socks. Is that
And we'll pilot 2 holes on each end. So went ahead, pre-ran all the screws. So now what we'll do is we'll just butt these up and then screw them in, one on each side, and then we'll put the center piece in at the bottom. If you run the first one slow, it's much more likely to take and not slide the board back and forth. So take your time with that first one, and then the second one you can run a lot faster. Now that this is together, we're gonna take this piece and put it in here. It might be a little bit snug just because of the shapes of the boards or whatever. But one thing we can do to make sure that this is at the same height on each side is we just take 2 of these boards like this, and then we just put this on top. And then we can just use that as a way to seat it while we run the screws into it. So make sure it's as flush as you can get it, side to side. Okay, and then we'll just run the screws. And again, you're working with 2x4, so sometimes you're just gonna have to like use your hand just to maneuver the board just a little bit, and then that'll square it up. Okay. All right, last thing we have to do is to put these boards here on top. So basically, one's gonna go flush on one side. So what we'll do is we'll start it on one side and then adjust the other. Again, all with 2.5-inch screws. All right, so we got one screw in there. We're gonna put this one on this side. So I just did one screw on each side. We're gonna do the other side next. Once we got those two outside ones on, I just put one screw in it just to make sure we were pretty square here. And then now what we can do is we can run a screw in this middle one. We're gonna run two square screws in each board. And that's the bench. This is the most important part to sand. So I'm gonna sand the top of it and the edges a little bit just so you know, there's not a lot of extra pieces hanging off that, you know, you get a chance of splinters on. And then we'll just take an unused sanding disc and kind of hit these edges here. There's a bench. All right, there we have it. So we've got the bench, which can slide in and out. The bench will be a total of 12 inches tall. The table is 22 and 3/4 inches tall. And then this overall back here is 23 or 27 inches tall. So that's how big this is. Again, this is the reason we only made this 28 inches was so that it could fit in between the legs. And like I said, it's not quite 100% level. We're gonna put little pads on it because we have hardwood floors and stuff, so it doesn't get moved around. But yeah, so we're gonna paint Irish pink. Like I said, I think I'm gonna get some small little aluminum pots put back here, nailed down so that they stay up there, and put some, you know, markers and crayons and stuff. And I'm thinking about putting a dowel here, so like a wooden dowel, and then getting a roll of like paper so that they can just pull the paper across, draw on it, and then tear the paper off. So those are just some customizations. I'll probably do another video once we finish everything to show you some of the pieces we do to it. But yeah, so that's the finished product.